The lights at the airport are still on, but what about the runways? Nothing. Planes are not in the air, they are parked. It's calm down along the boardwalk, not loud enough. Hotels promote deals that you would think would fill them up in seconds, but the rooms stay empty. There is something else going on. And no, it's not only that the economy is getting worse, this is about the souls of whole states. Tourism, which used to be a big driver of jobs, growth, and hopes, is slowly falling apart in places we never thought it would. Little by little, famous places are becoming quiet, not because of calamities, but due of policy and neglect. And something even scarier, people just stopped coming. So which states are already feeling the strain of this, and which ones could be next? Stay with me because these 10 destinations aren't only losing tourists, they're also running out of time. 10. Nevada. The casinos still buzz and the lights of Vegas still shine, but if you've been there recently, you know something's not right. The people? They are thinner than they have been in more than 10 years. The hotel suites are empty. Buffets are either half empty or closed. And it's not simply a bad run at the blackjack table. Tourism in Nevada is going down quickly. More than 6% fewer people have visited the Strip in Las Vegas alone. The money from gaming is down. In a state where tourism is the main source of income, that's a significant thing. When people stop flying in, everything slows down. Restaurants fire workers, shows get called off. There aren't many real estate deals. I've seen it happen. People who have worked in hospitality for 15 years suddenly looking for new jobs. But this is what makes it very scary. It doesn't feel like it will end. It's not a glitch. It might be the start of a reset, one that lasts. What will happen to Nevada if Vegas stops being fun? And what happens to the folks who base their lives on that shining dream? California is number 9, sunsets at the Golden Gate. On the roof there are surfboards, Highway 1 is an open road. It seems like California is a dream, but if you examine more closely, that dream is starting to break. California is one of the most popular places for tourists to visit, but now even California is feeling the heat. International tourism is going down a lot, especially from Canada, which used to be its second biggest source of visitors. Areas like San Francisco, Anaheim, and parts of Los Angeles. That used to be full of life. They're getting fewer visitors, hotel revenue is going down, and there are more vacancy signs than everyone thought. Even though tourists spent a whopping $157 billion last year, 2025 is showing significant signs of a decline. And here's the twist. The cost of living is going up more than ever, even while tourism is having trouble. Theme parks, seaside towns, and wine country can only stay open for so long when people stop going. It's not only a poor time, it's a perfect storm. Is the California dream fading? Before we get into it, make sure you press that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. Some of these decreases are really surprising. 8. Florida. The palm trees still move. The theme parks are still bright. But there is something wrong with that postcard of sunshine. Florida, the vacation center of the United States, is now on uncertain ground. The state has relied on visitors from other countries for a long time, especially those from Canada. But what about 2025? Things changed. Those people who were traveling stopped coming. It wasn't just a little dip, it was a crash. Reservations from Canada to Florida fell by more than 70% for the spring and summer. That's not seasonal. That's a part of history. And what about the rippling effects? Big. We're talking about a $2.1 billion drop in tourism spending, which means that more than 14,000 tourism-related jobs are now at risk. Take a look around Miami. Check out Orlando. Even little coastal communities like Clearwater and Naples are giving away huge discounts just to stay open. I've heard accounts from restaurant owners who used to have lineups down the street. Now they close early because there aren't enough customers. But it's not only about going to the beach or taking the family to Disney. It's about a bigger transition that could impact Florida's future if things don't change. Summits. It's not just about vacation plans that don't work out. It's the ripple effect. When tourism is down in Florida, the devastation spreads quickly. We're talking about hits to homes, welcome, getting around, even stores. And this is where things get very serious. Florida doesn't have a backup plan. Sunshine, fantasy, and tourism cash were the 3 things that formed this state. The whole system feels it when even one of those pillars starts to break. It can't be saved by just traveling within the country. 7. New York. The skyline is still amazing. The lights are still bright. But if you walk through Times Square or down Fifth Avenue, you'll hear something you didn't expect. Quiet. New York used to be the clear leader in American tourism, but it's starting to slow down. And in 2025, that slowdown will be clear in black and white. City officials had to change their prediction for tourism. They thought that 67 million people would come this year. But what about now? They think there will only be 64 million. That means 3 million fewer people are going to hotels, getting bagels from corner stores, seeing Broadway musicals, or taking photos at the Met. But here's the part that really hurts. 2 million of those missed visitors come from other countries. And people who travel internationally, they don't merely go on vacation, they are the main source of income for New York's tourism industry. They stay for a longer time, they give away more money, they keep whole neighborhoods alive. In fact, about half of the money spent on tourism in New York comes from outside the US. So when those tourists leave, it's not just sad, it's terrible. Why aren't they coming? A lot of things, rising costs, inflation around the world, a strong US dollar, and more people worrying about safety, crowded, and even sanitation. New York doesn't feel as magical to a lot of folks anymore. It's not just a sentiment, business owners are already seeing the effects. I talked to restaurant managers in Midtown who used to depend on tourists to fill their tables. Now they are cutting back on hours. Stores in Soho that were popular with tourists, watching their sales go down. Tour guides, hotel concierges, and store personnel are all under danger. And that's not all. Less foot traffic means less sales. Less buying means less tax money. And that makes things considerably harder for a city that is already dealing with rising costs and constrained budgets. 6. Hawaii. It still looks like heaven from above, that perfect mix of turquoise ocean, green mountains, and golden beaches. But if you get a little closer, the picture starts to shift. Hawaii used to be the most popular tourist destination in the US, but now it's confronting a wave it can't ride out. Visitor counts have declined a lot after 2025, especially from Japan and Canada, which are two of Hawaii's major overseas markets. But here's the twist. It's not just fewer individuals, it's less money. People who are coming aren't spending as much as they used to. Visitor spending is down on every big island from Oahu to Maui. The number of people staying in hotels is going down to levels we haven't seen since the outbreak. So what caused this precipitous drop? It's a perfect storm. Prices for flights are through the roof, vacation rental rules that are stricter, the terrible flames in Maui that not only destroyed homes but also scared others away from traveling, and a growing movement in the area against too many tourists, which has led to stricter rules and fewer places to stay. Hawaii's tourism industry is now fighting on two fronts. Demand is going down and capacity is going down. Businesses that used to perform well because of all the foot traffic are now shutting down. Guides for tours, teachers of surfing, people who work in restaurants. All of the hours are shortened and the paychecks are smaller, and in the island's more remote areas, some families are getting ready to go. 5. Arizona. It still seems like a success story in the desert from the outside. Sun all the time, cities full of life. The natural beauty is so amazing that it draws millions of people every year. But if you look past the postcard, things are changing. Arizona's tourism industry, which used to be one of the fastest growing in the country, is now starting to slow down. Visitor spending fell by around 7% in 2025. The blow wasn't just one thing, it affected everyone, from the fancy hotels in Sedona to the helicopter excursions that go over conjure up the Grand Canyon. But here's what really shocked people. Tourism to Arizona from other countries is down by more than 10%, and Canadian tourists, who are one of the state's largest groups of international visitors, have dropped off a lot. Why? Well, the causes are piling up. Unbearable summers are getting even worse because of record-breaking heat waves. More and more, there are dangers of wildfires and water shortages. How much does it cost to fly to the Southwest? More than ever. But there is a greater problem building behind it all. Arizona has been growing quickly, some people would say too quickly. The state has been spending a lot of money on tourism, hotels, and real estate, hoping that tourists will always come. But when that stream starts to run out, the base gets weak. The whole thing suddenly feels more like a house of cards. 4. Louisiana. The music is still playing in the streets, people still come to see the gumbo smell, but something is breaking underneath the jazz, the color, and the culture. Louisiana is in jeopardy. It is home to one of America's most popular and lively cultural destinations. Not only is tourism slowing down in 2025, it's also stopping. The state's main gem, New Orleans, has been hammered hard. Travel to the city from other countries is down more than 20%. And what about the money that pays for the lights, the music, and the jobs? They're going away quickly. There are more empty rooms at hotels. Big events like Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest are bringing in smaller crowds from other states. There used to be a lot of tourists in the French Quarter, but today there are empty stores, and the lines that are shorter, they don't mean that things are running smoothly, they mean that people aren't coming as often as they used to. Here's the deeper problem. Tourism in Louisiana isn't only for fun, it's about staying alive. This field provides jobs for more than 200,000 people in the state. So when it fails, it's not just Bourbon Street that suffers, it's every family, every business, and every neighborhood that needs people and money. And this drop isn't just a coincidence. The rise in criminality in important tourist sites has raised severe safety concerns. Add to that rising prices, the grueling summer heat, and more hurricanes, and you have a travel industry that is on shaky ground. More and more people are going to places that are safer and more stable. Some people remark that Louisiana doesn't feel as friendly as it used to. Some people just can't afford it. Number 3 is Missouri. Missouri earned its name on experience, from riverboats to ribs, a location where families formed memories, music filled the air, and little villages were full of charm. But now, that motor of tourism that used to be so robust is starting to splutter. The research paints a grim picture for 2025. Visitor spending is way down all over the place. Compared to last year, hotel bookings have declined by as much as 12% in certain areas. Cities like St. Louis, Kansas City, and Branson, which used to be full of life, are now feeling the slowdown hard. Branson used to be a big deal, especially shows with music, things to do with the whole family. Every week, a lot of tourists come in buses. But that's not the case now. Quick, tours for groups, not as many as before. Visitors who are older, down a lot. The money that used to come in steadily to the Ozarks, getting dry. And it's not simply bad luck. People will wish to travel differently and to different places after the pandemic. Missouri is still a charming place, but what about the attention? The light? It's beginning to go somewhere else. It used to seem like Missouri's tourism scene was stable and reliable, but now it seems fragile, like it could fall apart with just one bad season. Performers becoming older, closed theaters. Once a place of fun, it is progressively losing its light. And in St. Louis, the indicators are even harder to miss. Crime stories have reached the news all around the country, and some vacationers are deciding it's not worth the risk. There are fewer people booking conventions. Big events have moved to cities that seem safer or give higher returns. Hotels in the city center are even lowering their rates to fill their rooms. But the problem in Missouri isn't only how people see it. There's real pressure coming from all sides. Number 2, Illinois. The skyline is still amazing. The Chicago River still flows across the middle of downtown like a ribbon, but there's a disturbing stillness spreading over Illinois that goes beyond the postcard vista. There is a tourism issue in the state in 2025, but not many people are talking about it. Chicago used to be a major player in foreign travel, but this year it suffered a dip of more than 14%. There are fewer conventions, business vacations, and weekend getaways. And this isn't simply a slow time of year. This is a constant and severe drop. So, what's making it happen? Start with how you see things. Even while crime rates have gone down in some places, the headlines still stick. An image is quite important for people who travel abroad. A lot of people are now skipping Chicago completely and going to cities that feel safer. But this isn't only a problem in Chicago. The consequences are spreading all over the state. Tourism never really came back after the epidemic in towns like Springfield, Peoria, and Rockford. The enthusiasm never came back. Many places are still having trouble getting people to come, like music festivals, historic residences, state fairgrounds, and river cruises. Parts of the iconic Route 66 that used to be a sentimental gold mine now feel empty. Attractions along the road are closed. There are no people at gas stations or diners. Texas is number 1, the state of Texas. Large skies, large stakes, and a lot of pride. But Texas is getting smaller in 2025, where it matters most. Travel, you probably picture busy rodeos, loud music festivals, and BBQ places with long queues. But when you look closely, the fissures are evident. Austin, which is the center of Texas' cultural scene, is losing visitors quickly. This spring, hotel occupancy in downtown plummeted by more than 11%. The city's famous live music scene, every week bars and venues are seeing fewer tourists and slower nights. And then there's San Antonio. Tour groups used to fill the Riverwalk. What now? Less business. There are empty chairs in convention halls that used to be full. What about the weather? That's starting to be a deal breaker. People who don't travel much are starting to wonder if it's even safe to go anymore because summer temperatures are breaking records virtually every year. The story of Houston is just as bad. Once a popular stop for business travelers from throughout the world, airline traffic is slowing down. There are fewer and fewer trade shows. There's no noise in hotel lobbies. Tourists are starting to think twice about whether it's worth the danger after going through hurricanes, blackouts, and power grid failures. It's affecting even little towns. Places like Fredericksburg and Waco, which used to be full of weekend travelers, are now seeing their bookings disappear. Half of the beds and breakfasts are full. Fewer people go to wineries. The Texas charm is still there, but people who have been there before are starting to leave. Why? Costs are going up. Very hot. Some places are too crowded and the weather is hard to anticipate in others. It's all building up and it's making people who used to come back feel bad. And here's the kicker. Texas is still spending a lot of money on tourism and promotion, even when there are warning flags. But the experience is displaying considerable wear and tear behind the shiny commercials and everything's bigger promises. Tourism helped shape Texas's modern identity, but if this pattern keeps along, it might help to break it apart as well. If it shocked you, just wait. These states aren't just having a hard time, they're on the verge of falling. What is going on right now could transform American tourism for good, so do your part. Please subscribe, like this video, and send it to someone who needs to know what's actually going on in the US in 2025. What stories are important? We still have more to tell them.